Welcome back to Subject to Cross. I'm your host, Caroline Donato.
I'm your co-host, Pete Kratza, doing a podcast for the first time without a headset.
And so is our special guest, our indefinite special guest, Mary Lawrence.
Hello, happy to be here.
We haven't done this for a year. I was pregnant last time we did this.
I wasn't.
I also wasn't.
Congratulations, guys.
Thanks.
And we thought that for our first episode, we would give you a year recap, what we've done for the last year.
It's going to be very difficult for me.
Because you don't remember what you did yesterday.
That's correct.
But also, we did have one or two or a few listeners who have asked us to get back in the studio. People have yelled "Subject to Cross" at us.
That's true, actually. Yeah.
So here we are by your demand. So the last year, Pete, if you can just go into the depths of your brain.
I need prompting. So obviously, without Mary's help, it would have been very difficult to continue our group's practice during your maternity leave.
Oh my God, can we contextualize this? I was out for a few weeks. It wasn't a whole year.
Wasn't it longer than that?
No.
It was 6 weeks.
Yeah. 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Wait, Mary, tell the listeners how many of those weeks was Pete working?
Pete also took maternity leave. It was more abbreviated, similar to men's paternity leave, but it was about 3 weeks during the 6 weeks Caroline was out.
So
when were you out? What were the weeks?
Chloe was born on April 19th, 2022.
Okay.
So she'll be a year old next week.
All right.
And Mary, why don't you tell the listeners how that was for you?
It was very difficult. So Caroline goes out, and I'm a nervous wreck. And then all of a sudden, Pete is also not around. Well, Caroline had left us a very elaborate plan for
ignored.
All of her active cases, what could happen, and who's going to handle what. And most of those things were, most of the cases were directed to PEK, handle. And I would regularly get texts from Pete that says, "You're going to handle that. I'm not going to be in."
Okay, so now the year's coming back to me.
Mm-hmm. The 6 weeks is coming back.
Didn't we, we had a trial, you were very pregnant when we had a trial, right?
When we had a trial? Which trial?
Oh, no, it was after you had the baby, and then we had the trial.
Yes.
Yeah, see, I'm not a good historian.
All right.
I live day to day.
But to Mary's credit, so for these 6 weeks, I had a beautiful 6 weeks with Chloe, and I tried very hard to...
Chloe is your daughter,
my daughter.
For the listeners' benefit.
I said that. Chloe was born on April 19th, 2022. Mm-hmm. And I'm home for 6 weeks, and Mary and Donna and even you, by email, you're saying everything's covered, everything's great. So I'm thinking I'm not even needed anymore. And I would take Chloe on these really long walks by week 2 or 3, and I'd put Mary on the phone. And I'd have her in my ear set for 45 minutes, an hour, having her run down through all the cases. And remember, I pushed everything out at least 12 weeks, all my court appearances, because I didn't know what that time was going to look like. And I come back at 6 weeks, as soon as the nanny started. You're not in the office still. You're still on your leave.
I was probably on my deathbed.
So you say. And Mary and Donna come into my office to recap where we are, where we need to go. And they're like, "We didn't want to tell you this because we knew you'd be back in. But Pete's been out." And I'm like, "What? Pete's been out? What do you mean he's been out? He's been out for some time." Well, what is some time? 3 weeks. Pete, were you okay when I was on leave?
Oh, yeah, I was fine. Yeah. Except for the fact that I had COVID and almost died. Yeah, I don't really remember a lot of that. Maybe it's COVID fog.
I remember very clearly.
I'm sure you do. You know what, Mary? Some of it was, I knew you could handle that stuff. And some of it, admittedly, was, she doesn't tell me what to do. She's like, PEK handle. No, I'm not going to handle that. If Mary can handle it, she can handle it. And guess what? Were all the clients happy?
I hope so.
They were, yes.
The other topic we mentioned at lunch today is the team approach.
Yeah. So you want me to talk about that?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think over the past however many 3-4 years, that we have been trying these cases, it really strikes me that, historically, I was just on my own. So if I tried a case, I did it on my own. And while I did well, sure that I missed things that you just can't possibly do on your own in a trial as opposed to a team approach. I think it's much more effective. We have each other, the three of us now, to bounce ideas off of. We divvy up the witnesses, so you concentrate on your witnesses. I think that the challenge of doing that is to make sure that everybody is on the same page, because you are extremely thematic.
Are you talking to me?
I am. I'm talking directly to you. Extremely theme-oriented in terms of a defense, right? And I tend to be a little bit more freewheeling. I would say that Caroline's like a surgeon, and I'm just like trying to throw haymakers from the outset, and she has to kind of like rein me in. But I think it works well together.
Well, you said 3 to 4 years. It's been over 6 years of this.
Oh, has it been? See, again, the years just are lost on me.
Well, as I've been practicing for 8 years, those 6 years were a big deal in my life.
Okay, all right. So yeah, and I mean now with Mary on the team as well, it's even much more effective.
Oh my gosh,
because you
it's
can
so much
divide
better
and conquer. We literally divide and conquer, and of course Donna. You can't forget Donna.
Well, Donna's the backbone.
And I think for me, too, it's been really helpful in my learning process because I get the opportunity to do the research, write the motions, and then hand it off and watch either Pete or Caroline litigate it, which really reinforces my own learning of the subject matter, but also kind of gives me confidence of like, okay, I could do that too.
Yeah, when you watch other people do it, I think that's the best way to learn. Tim Woodward always told me that. He would, like, when he was newer as a lawyer, of course he was a police officer for years first, but he would just watch lawyers in trial all the time. That's how he learned. And I think I'm a visual learner. Maybe you are as well, where you learn what works, you learn what doesn't work, and probably secretly in the back of your head you're like, I would have done that differently than Kratz. I would have done that differently than Donato, and that's fine. I mean, you can admit that to me, but probably shouldn't admit it to Caroline that you would have done something differently than she would have.
No, I wouldn't want Mary to be just like me. I want Mary to be just like her.
Mm-hmm. No, what I'm saying is that Mary can tell me if there was something that I could have done better. I don't think Mary would be comfortable telling you that.
I think I can gather bits and pieces of the things that I like and just curate my own brand.
And this leads to another question. What's it like being stuck in the middle between Caroline and Pete? Wasn't that another question?
Do you feel stuck in the middle?
I am the referee.
Are you?
Yes.
Do you make calls?
I try to. Caroline started our group discussion with, right, Mary? Things are cross-examinations. You agree with me, right? And after a certain point, I was like, okay, I'm not her yes girl. I'm gonna have to divvy up some of these decisions, and I am a referee.
You aren't. I don't think you've ever been a yes girl.
Well, I try not to be.
I don't think you would have hung in there if you were a yes girl. I think part of the team is challenging
each other. Right.
Because there's a lot of trust that goes into that. If you're not just saying what the other person wants to hear and you're provoking thought and it's to the benefit of the client and the case, I think that's what works. But I don't think that's a fair assumption to ever call Mary a yes girl. Mary is...
You're not saying I called her a yes girl. Are you saying that?
Did I hear that wrong?
No, I didn't call her a yes girl.
Did you say that?
I said I was... Yeah. I didn't want to be a yes girl.
Do you
that
see
just
what she does?
agreed.
She puts words in my mouth. I didn't say that.
No, but I do speak up, and we all share each other's thoughts and opinions because it does make the thinking and the growing part better for our clients when we're like, I don't know about that. But at the beginning, when Caroline would say, right, Mary? I would be like, oh gosh, am I just going to say yes? But now I think I've grown into more of a contributing third party.
You've always been a contributing third party. And the one thing is sometimes you'll say, yes, I think this. And I'll be like, no, that's not good enough. It's got to be better. We've got to do better.
Yes.
Oh, well, that's good.
See, I just did it.
Yeah.
But there are times where I realize when we're talking about a case, I'll say, you agree with this? Yes. You agree with this? Yes.
It's like you're cross-examining her.
I know. And I'll say, wait, let me rephrase this. What do you think?
Yeah.
And that's how we do direct, Caroline.
No, say that to Pete. That's how you direct examine Pete.
I don't like doing direct. You know that.
No, not at all. So the last question we had for this episode, Mary, is over the last year since you've really just dug your heels into our practice and you are just such a pillar to our practice, how are you doing?
That's a loaded question.
How are you? Man, you're good, right?
Well, you have chickens now.
I'm doing great.
You have chickens.
I have chickens. I recently got some chicks. But work-wise, I feel like I'm a completely different person than last year. I've just learned so much, and it's wild to see how much you can learn in 1 year and actually go out and do, because I look back to last year as Caroline was out on maternity leave, and I was shaking in my boots every day.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I'm sorry. It's because I wasn't there.
You were on maternity leave.
And you were such an integral part in so many of these trials and these cases we've had success in over the past year, and it's just getting started. I mean,
Well, knock on wood.
Well, I don't need to knock on wood. I know.
Right.
I know. Right. We're on a really positive trajectory. We've done really well for our clients. We work really hard, and we'll continue to do so. I don't need to knock on wood.
And I think you wanted to talk about how we don't have to even speak sometimes.
Yes. So the team dynamic has evolved in such a way where sometimes we just look at each other and we know. I'll give an example. Why are you laughing? Do you know what I'm thinking of?
I think so.
The other day between you and me?
Yeah.
Pete and I had a conversation, and he was saying his position on it, and I was listening. And in my mind, I was saying, but it's the principle. It's the principle of the matter. I did not say anything. I didn't even try to interrupt him. And he looks at me and he goes, I know it's the principle, but notwithstanding the principle. That means
we've been spending way too much time together. I also thought you were going to talk about when we were in court, and like I was shuffling papers, and she gave me a look. Nobody else would have noticed that she gave me a look.
Oh my God.
But I noticed the look. But it didn't. I kept shuffling my papers. It was very important to me that I was paying attention to what the judge said and that I had my papers in a row because, I'm a little obsessive compulsive. And Caroline just kept looking at me, and I looked at her. I'm like, I know. And I kept shuffling my papers. No,
oh my gosh.
We definitely know what we're thinking. And Mary, you're going to, you probably have already developed that with Caroline. I'm pretty much an open book. You can probably figure out what I'm thinking most of the time.
You're not an open
anyway.
book. You have to be there to be an open book.
God,
I'm just kidding.
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
Shots fired.
No, I'm just kidding.
Where's the referee when you need her?
She's right here. She's silent because it's fair game. No, in the trial that we have permission to talk about, I remember I was in the middle of a witness and I wanted an exhibit because it just naturally came up in the line of questioning or in an answer. And I didn't have it on me because it was a pretty emotional part of the trial. And I was up on the podium instead of back at defense table. And I turn around and Mary stood up and just hands the exhibit. She knew exactly what...
You're indicating almost like a relay race where she's handing you the baton.
Exactly. And I didn't have to say anything. I didn't have to request anything. It was exactly what I wanted without any words. And I thought, damn, we're really on the same wavelength here.
I knew what you needed.
And I was probably shuffling papers.
No, I don't know what you were doing.
Yeah, I don't know. I was there though. I was there.
You were present.
Yep.
You were present. But how about in trials generally? During the trial, Pete doesn't stop moving.
Yeah, I tend to be a little bit of a what's the word?
You're a wiggler.
A wiggler? A wiggler.
You wiggle.
I was really hoping for something a little bit more masculine than that.
Fidgeter?
Fidgeter. Yeah, I'll do fidgeter.
I like wiggler.
Yeah.
Wiggler hits, right?
Yeah.
A lot of what happens during a trial to me is I just want to get to the good stuff. Maybe it's part of our, social media generation and everything. But you guys are very good at making sure that the evidence gets in, that everything's marked, and I just want to get to the good stuff.
Blah, 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 the evidence. Blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
right.
You can't argue anything unless you have the evidence. You can't file an appeal unless you preserve the record.
Yeah, well, that's
blah,
true.
blah, blah.
Yeah, and I'm joking, but I am admittedly a fidgeter, but I've worked with a long line of fidgeters.
It works for you, though. If you were sitting still during a trial, I'd think you were hurt.
We're dead.
Or dead. It works for you, and you have to be who you are in trial. The other thing that...
Well, and I think that's, we make fun of all this, but you have to be authentic, right? Like, the jury has to believe you're not just like a salesperson, and we're not. And I think that's why we're very effective at trial. What we're telling them, we believe. And what we tell them we're going to prove, we prove it.
Even
right?
though we don't have the burden.
Right. But the point is that you have to be authentic. You have to be believed by the jury. I think if you try to sell them something, and
that you don't even buy.
In a lot of our cases, that's exactly what our opponents are doing. They're trying to sell them something that they ain't buying.
And then you're really good at jury deliberations. You were very calm.
I am
during
calm.
jury deliberations.
Yeah. Like eerily calm.
It really freaks me out because then I turn into you during trial. I'm fidgeting.
Yeah, it's like we swap places.
Pete told me to get on Ativan for jury deliberations.
I did. I'm like,
go take a shot of bourbon.
As soon as the closings are over, you should just take an Ativan.
No, she's got to rehash everything in her head.
Oh
I remember
God.
talking to her afterwards, and I was like, well, how was your closing? And she was like, well, I don't know now. And I was like, that's not it.
No, I mean, I the way where, and I think all lawyers do it, all people would do it. You do second guess some of the things that you did, whether you should have done something differently. But I just think that and I hope that you're not always going to be this way, Caroline, because I don't think that it's healthy for you.
Oh my goodness.
That you take it to like an extreme degree. Like, well, should have done that, should have done that, should have. And my position is, we just had a great trial. If we don't win, it's not our fault, it's the jury's.
No, well, I don't think that's fair. I think we both have... Is this going to be a long episode, or are we going to make it 2? Can we just make it 1? Can we just talk naturally?
Sure.
Okay. I don't think that's fair. I think we all have our way of doing things. And to me, rehashing the evidence and... Okay, let me back up. When we're in trial, I'm calm because it's something I can control. I can control the preparation, my line of questioning. I can't control the witness answers, but I can control listening to the witness answers and then responding with an appropriate question. Same thing with opening, preparation, closing, preparation to the extent you can, and making an argument. But once it's in the jury's hands, there's no more control. So where do I divert that attention while we have to pace a courthouse for sometimes hours? It's, well, how was that evidence received? How was that evidence, brought into the case? And remember, in some of our trials, where the jury deliberations are longer than we'd hope, I landed on that evidence couldn't have gone in any better. That trial, we couldn't have done anything better in that trial. But I need that process. And I sort of resent the fact that you say it's unhealthy. It's my process. It's better than Ativan. It's better than a shot of bourbon. It's better than smoking a joint on the side of a courthouse. It's just what calms me down is to analyze what we could control.
You shouldn't be offended. My point is that you cause yourself unwarranted stress by revisiting what you could have done, what you could have done. It's over. And you're right. And the reason you went back to, it's a great trial is because I told you that it was a great trial and that the evidence went in well. Evidence doesn't always go in perfectly. It's never going to go in perfectly.
No, but I was on the phone with other people talking about the trial, other lawyers, when we were waiting for jury deliberations, and that's when I came to the realization. Except the trial in October. So let's talk about that.
Are we delving into, is this like a separate, why don't you just make it a separate thing?
Okay, we'll make it a separate thing. We're signing off until next time.
Oh, you got to do that?
I mean, I'm just trying to show a close
All right,
so
we'll
we can
do it
do
again.
an open.
Do it now.
welcome back to Subject
No,
to
you're
Cross.
supposed to close first.
I thought I just did.
No, because no.
You do it. Do it how you'd like to see it done.
That's the end of this episode. Thank you very much.
Goodbye.